So I told myself I'd be able to make a video when I finish lubing these switches, and it took me about 3 months to do so. But real quick before we get into this video, I just want to show you guys this cool mechanical pencil I got recently. I honestly forgot what it's called, but the lead rotates whenever you press down, so you never get a dull edge. But anyways, there's been a lot of creator switches dropping recently. I say recently, but I'm like a year late to this. Anyways, I support the gang, so I've been picking them up as they've been coming along, and usually each creator's switch has its own quirk as well, which makes them ever more cool and wild. So we have 3 creator switches here today, all linear, all unique, and all fighting for a spot in your next keyboard. I say that, but you could just buy all 3. But trying to artificially raise the stakes here. And since Tofu and Coley did recommend lubing their switches, that's exactly what I painstakingly did. You know how much I hate lubing, right? You're welcome. From first impressions, all these switches look nice. They all match the color schemes that these creators rep. In particular though, Coley's personal flair of sprinkling some art onto the tube packaging honestly adds quite a bit, especially for those who just want to collect the switch like me. So good work to Keybfront for delivering this cute little tube-shaped packaging. Tofu and Clackbait did also incorporate their own designs into their packaging, but I feel like Coley really did go above and beyond here. I don't want to bore you guys with specs, so I'll put them all here. One thing to take note of is that they're all long pull switches with dual stage springs. I'm not sure if they all got together and decided to do that, but I am glad that long pull enjoyers are winning right now. On the contrary though, if you are buying your first switch, I would advocate maybe not going for those insane 3.2mm long pull travel distances, because in my opinion that's just where the pull starts impeding on the travel of the switch and you really start to feel the trade-off of having such a long pull. But if you do figure out that's exactly what you want, you can knock yourself out. I mean, they are sure fun to use. Alright, so I guess it's time to pick out a keyboard to test these switches on. Hey yo, what's up with the air quality right now, dude? Wisconsin's really getting the California treatment right now. I actually haven't been posting that much recently about the status of my keyboard collection, and in fact I have actually been downsizing quite a bit. As of right now, I only have 4 boards, including the frog over there. I am just kind of sad that I'm missing out on a lot of the new keyboards that are dropping recently. Even though I am getting the Derivative and the January coming in very soon, they are more of just something for me personally, rather than something I would showcase for the audience. But in a perfect world though, I would just have 3 QK65s, because honestly this is such a nice budget board. And then I can just put all of my switches in it and then kind of A/B test them, which would make things so much easier rather than filming a sound test and then swapping everything out and then filming another sound test. But anyways, I think we should go for the frog today. I recently got GMK British Racing Green on this frog, and I think it looks really nice, so this will be our arena of choice today for these switches to battle on. So let's get right into it. Before we listen to these switches, let's just get a baseline and listen to what the MX Black sound like. Okay, our first switch is the Coley switch. The bottom housing for this switch is PBT, so that's going to be pretty interesting since I've never seen that in a switch before. Let's take a listen. To be honest, these shocked me quite a bit because they sounded better in real life than what I heard from other sound tests while I was researching for this video. So in return, what you hear in this sound test probably is not a good showcase of this switch in particular. Not out of the ordinary though. Sound tests aren't usually the most accurate representation of what you actually get. In terms of the Coleys though, I was pretty surprised by how clacky this switch was. They really are the most scratchy out of these 3 switches, but that's only because the other 2 are really smooth. Even then, I'd say the scratch on the Coleys are more tasteful than harmful. But that might be different for other people. Secondly, let's talk about the Clackbaits. This switch is fully palm, and as the name suggests, it's also super clacky. I'm kind of torn on this switch because part of me really likes how clacky it is, but it's almost too clacky upon my first time trying it. I know it sounds weird because right before this, I was literally just talking about how I liked the clack on the Koli switches, but I've noticed a big thing about new switches or keyboards is that you really need to give it time to marinate so that your opinions can really develop. So it's really hard for me to say if I really like the clack of the clack baits or if it's a little too much for me. Either way though, the biggest thing about this switch is that some of the profits do go to charity, and I think that's good enough to pick up the switch as is. Last but not least, we have the Tofu switches. These switches are full nylon, which is something that Tofu said he wanted to do in his video. Let's get it out of the way. They sound great with lube, they perform as a nylon switch should, but I have one big gripe with this switch. They are freaking awful to remove from your keyboard. I'm glad I did this switch last because I think these switches are just eternally going to be stuck in my Frog. You can see I'm using a different keyboard right now. I'm literally not lying. The switches are stuck in my Frog. Some switches that I had to remove, I had to put a little too much elbow grease in and ended up shattering them. This is something that is addressed on the website though, so I don't think I even have the right to complain. And also, if you do actually want to remove it from your board, I'm pretty sure you can take apart your keyboard and try to push the switch out from the back. I just am too lazy to do that. But hey, if you are going to have a switch stuck in your keyboard, at least you're going to have a good switch stuck in your keyboard. So originally when I was writing this script for this video, I was going to end with saying that, oh, you should probably go buy some other switch that's more standardized, because these switches did on paper look pretty extravagant for having, you know, full palm, full nylon, having a PBT bottom housing. But in terms of what I got from demoing all of these switches, I honestly think that they're all very good options. These switches felt like something that were thought through pretty thoroughly and had some heart behind it. From the glorious packaging to the switch colors to the sound and feel of them. I mean, there's so many good switches nowadays that it's quite rare to find an objectively bad one anyway. But, you know, these are all good. So, you know, you can just buy all three of them. Anyways, that's my persuasive piece for you guys to spend your money. All right, that's about it for me. I'll see you guys later. Peace.